Hi, I am Shelby Williams, and my project's going to be over the green turtle, and then this is the scientific name. A little bit of an introduction. They're one of the largest species of turtle, and they're also highly migratory. You can see on the picture of the map, the orange highlighted area is a range of their habitat and their migration routes, and they're also suffering drastic population declines. The demographic sociostochastic factors that are affecting the loss of genetic diversity within the green turtle species is that they have a heavily skewed sex ratio currently, and this is because of climate change, and the eggs are dependent on temperature to determine the sex of the species, and warmer temperatures produce more females. So with the increasing temperatures in the world, this is also increasing the amount of females being born within this species. Habitat segregation is another factor that they're facing, and this is size-based, and it's producing significantly smaller turtles in certain areas compared to other ones, which is having an effect on their genetic diversity as well. Climate change is another factor, and this affects the turtles because their seasonal growth, hatch rates, and body condition indexes are all higher in warmer months. However, along with the climate change, one study found that the North Great Barrier Reef had almost all females for juvenile turtles, and this is causing major male shortages not only in the North Great Barrier Reef but in other areas as well. And if this trend continues, then extinction will occur. Some other impacts on the genetic diversity are that it's the only species in its genus, which decreases the genetic diversity, as well as sexual maturity isn't reached until they're about 20 years old, which is relatively late. Some of the threats include habitat fragmentation and degradation, and this is just due to urbanization and just like development along coastal areas, along with beach erosion itself. It's taking away nesting areas and feeding sites for the turtles. Another threat is fisheries bycatch, and this is because turtles need air to survive, and so whenever they get caught in these hooks, they often drown and suffocate. And another human impact threat is overharvesting and illegal trade for the meat and egg collections. And in the picture as well, it's showing a woman collecting eggs on the beach. Efforts for recovery of the green turtle include that it is involved in international legislation, and it has been listed as an endangered species on IUNC's Red List, which also means that it is protected under the Endangered Species Act. One study performed was looking at the evolvable traits that turtles could have based on global warming, and what the study found was that the nest step would be the best chance for adaptation and survival rates for the turtle. However, you can still see in the chart here that in extreme conditions, the turtle still did die off. And another study found that there was lack of genetic sampling on feeding grounds, and so this was causing lack of knowledge on juvenile green turtles. And so they took tissue samples, and the evidence did support that there is still a high level of diversity within the population. However, it's going to be necessary to create mitigation measures in order to protect these turtles, and also just realizing which habitats are priorities and hold the most genetic diversity versus habitats that don't hold as much, and making sure that we're preserving those priority habitats. Some of the conservation efforts being made include switching the types of hooks being used, as well as establishing a population density. And one of the ones I found super interesting was that there are some restoration projects that are trying to include teak measurements, which is traditional ecological knowledge, and they're trying to get that from locals to understand how they have traditionally interacted and dealt with protecting turtle habitats, as well as coinciding and having it to where people can still intermingle on the beach. So to wrap it up, the green turtle is dependent on a wide range of habitats, making it really important to preserve the habitat and making habitat segregation and fragmentation really difficult on the turtle to continue to survive and to be able to go on their migratory routes. And it also is a flagship species, so that really helps with conservation efforts and also just education and getting the word out, and as well as funding. However, this species does need a large amount of space, and since it has been on the endangered list for a little bit, I think that recovery is not likely. Um, I think that it's not likely due to urbanization and the loss of habitats, as well as since climate change affects the sex of the turtles. I think that as climate change continues to progress, that more and more females will be bred, and that will cause the males to die off and eventually the population as a whole to die off. And along with that, it's going to create an even deeper loss of genetic diversity. And then here are the references to the literature that I cited and where I got all my information for this. And then this is the page that I use all of my images from.